Hi, my name is Kim Cullen, and I'm a personal injury attorney in Winter Park, Florida. We meet with new personal injury clients all the time, and one of the most frequent issues that comes up in our initial client meeting is how much might my case be worth? So generally, our short answer is we have no idea. But one of the ways that we generally start talking about it is by telling our client that a lot of that is going to depend on what the insurance policy limits or coverage limits are of the at-fault party. So a lot of people then ask about, well, how do we know what the insurance coverage limits are? How does that get set, or how does that get decided? So I wanted to talk for just a few minutes about how insurance policy limits affect a personal injury case. So first, a short word about insurance policy limits. Insurance policy limits is essentially a shorthand way of describing what the maximum amount of money is that an insurance company will pay related to a given claim. So for instance, some people in Florida carry a $10,000 bodily injury liability insurance policy limit. So that means if that person goes out and causes an accident and causes someone else to be injured, then the maximum amount of money that their insurance company will have to pay is $10,000 under most circumstances. There are exceptions, just like everything in law. There's some exceptions to that, but that's how it works most of the time. The insurance policy limit is essentially a contractual matter between the customer, the insured, and the insurance company. So it's generally a number that an insurance agent or insurance representative will come to in cooperation with the customer when the customer explains what their insurance needs are, what their assets are, what they need to protect. Then they will generally work with their insurance agent on what is an appropriate policy limit for that individual person or that person's situation. An insurance policy limit is also somewhat dependent on how much the insured or the customer can afford to pay in terms of premium. A lot of people have heard the term premium as well when it comes to insurance. So a premium is the amount that the person has to pay each month or every 6 months or every year in order to have the kind of insurance coverage that they want. So many times the amount of coverage is a derivative or a function of the amount of money that the person can afford premium-wise and the amount of coverage that they want. So when it comes to liability insurance policy limits, typically we find there to be a direct relationship between the amount of coverage that someone has and the amount of money that they have. And that kind of makes some sense because a person who has a lot of money can afford to pay for more insurance. If they have a lot of money, that also means they have more to protect. So if you flip that, a person that doesn't have any money or very little money doesn't have a lot of money to pay for insurance. And they also don't have a lot to protect. And that's what insurance is essentially there to do. So in Florida, where we don't have mandatory bodily injury coverage, many people in Florida, hundreds of thousands of people in Florida, decide not to carry any liability insurance. It's not required. So there's a decent chance for anybody that's driving in Florida to be hit by someone who has no liability coverage. That means that person has no capability usually of responding to you in damages if they cause you an injury. One of the most frustrating things that we have to do as personal injury lawyers is sometimes explain to our client that even though they did nothing wrong and the other person's completely at fault, because the other person chose not to carry bodily injury liability coverage, there's nothing that we can do for our client. There's no way that we can get any money for them to compensate them for their injuries. This is why we urge everybody that we talk to about these sorts of issues to carry uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. Uninsured motorist coverage steps into the shoes of the at-fault driver and acts as if he had insurance, or it adds on to the insurance that he should have carried if he had been a responsible person. So coverage is vital in Florida because bodily injury coverage is not required or mandatory. We recommend to everyone to carry uninsured motorist coverage. Many people are frustrated if they don't carry uninsured motorist coverage and the at-fault party doesn't have liability insurance. They get very frustrated and wonder what they can do. And we've recently shot a video that explains what the options are to someone who is hit by someone who has no insurance and seemingly no money. And if I'll try to remember to leave the link to that video in the description to this one. If not, you can just search it. I don't remember what the particular search term is, but it might be uninsured defendant. What can you do about an uninsured defendant in Florida or something like that. The more simple way to handle that is simply call me. If you have any questions about this stuff, I'm always available by phone to answer your questions. It's 407-254-4901, or you can always text us at our office at 407-644-4444.